Welcome to the Secrets and Lies channel, a realm where true stories unfold with shocking twists that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you find yourself captivated by the video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Your support is the lifeblood that fuels our channel's journey forward. Now, let us plunge into the heart of the tale. It was one of those nights when the air crackled with an unsettling energy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The gathering at Jake's place began like any other, but an electric tension hung in the air, hinting at the unexpected twists that lay ahead. The music throbbed like a heartbeat, a cacophony of voices swirling around me in a dizzying dance. I had become accustomed to this chaotic scene, yet as the night deepened, an unsettling shift took hold. It was as if the vibrant energy had drained from the crowd, leaving behind a sea of weary faces, each one either lost in their inebriation or succumbing to the weight of exhaustion. The facade of revelry slipping away. I found it all strangely acceptable. It offered me a fleeting opportunity to escape unnoticed, to steal away for a precious few moments of tranquility. Just as I was about to step out, Jake suddenly grabbed my arm, pulling me into a hushed corner. "Hey, man. My mom's driving you home," he said, a grin spreading across his face as if he held a tantalizing secret just beneath the surface. She strides forward, determination etched on her face, the path ahead beckoning her with an unspoken promise. I shrugged, dismissing it as unimportant. Lena, Jake's mother, was a figure shrouded in mystery, her presence both captivating and elusive. She defied the mold of the conventional mother. There was an undeniable aura surrounding her, a sense that she could seamlessly slip into our world if she chose to embrace it. Perhaps that explains why I always felt at ease in her presence. She exuded an effortless coolness that drew everyone in. She was easy to talk to, unlike most adults. As I reached the midpoint of the driveway, her car suddenly appeared, gliding to a stop. With a smile that lit up her face, she rolled down the window, her long, dark hair cascading in waves around her shoulders, dancing in the breeze. "Looking for a ride?" "Ethan?" she inquired, her tone relaxed yet inviting. "Absolutely, my pleasure," I responded, sliding into the passenger seat with anticipation. "You never had to, yet you did. No big deal," she said, her smile a fragile mask that failed to illuminate the shadows lurking in her gaze. "Jake's out cold, so I thought I'd take you home myself. Let's embark on this journey." In the beginning, silence hung between us like a thick fog. I felt no resistance. The silence in her car enveloped us, a soothing cocoon where words were unnecessary. We glided through the world outside, two souls in perfect harmony, savoring the stillness together. As she gripped the steering wheel, I stole a glance at her, captivated by the intensity of the moment. Her fingers danced around the steering wheel, a delicate grip that suggested she embraced the journey rather than the need for control. It felt strange, yet in the most delightful manner. She stood apart from the countless weary, overburdened mothers I had encountered before. She stood apart from the rest. Just a few blocks into the drive, she shattered the stillness that hung in the air. "So, how's the journey through school unfolding?" Her voice broke the silence, a quiet inquiry slipping from her lips as her gaze remained fixed on the winding road ahead. Familiar echoes linger in the air. I spoke, attempting to mask the tension in my voice. "Swamped." "You're familiar with the feeling," she nodded, yet a shadow flickered across her face, betraying a depth that contradicted the lightness of her voice. She had a warmth that drew people in, a friendly smile that masked the shadows lurking beneath. Yet, there was an enigmatic weight to her presence, as if she bore a burden too heavy to reveal, searching for someone to confide in but unsure of where to turn. Indeed, her words emerged, deliberate and measured. "I understand. Life can be overwhelming at times." I stole another glance at her, a nagging feeling creeping in that this was about so much more than just school. "Indeed, I suppose so." I spoke, a sense of uncertainty creeping in as I navigated the unpredictable twists of our conversation. With a small smile, she deftly shifted the conversation. "Jake's good, though. Is he really driving you to the brink of madness?" I let out a soft chuckle, attempting to weave a thread of levity into the heavy atmosphere. "Nah, he's all right. Just always cracking jokes, you know?" Her lips curled into a smile, yet the warmth never touched her eyes. She shot me a fleeting glance, then her focus snapped back to the road ahead, as if the world around us faded into the background. The silence that enveloped the room was thick and charged, a palpable tension hanging in the air, unlike any that had come before. It felt electric, as if an unvoiced tension lingered in the air between us. A strange compulsion tugged at me, urging me to speak, though the reason eluded me. Everything, to shatter the silence. I hesitated, the words teetering on the edge of my lips, uncertain if this was the right moment, but I pressed on, compelled by the truth. I think you're doing a great job with Jake. He's the kind of man you'd want by your side in the darkest of times. Her eyes darted to me for a fleeting moment, and I could have sworn I caught a glimpse of surprise flicker across her face, but it vanished just as swiftly. Her smile was kind, putting me at ease. Thank you, Ethan. Those words carry immense weight. In that fleeting instant, I glimpsed a part of her that had remained hidden from my view, a revelation that sent shivers down my spine. The cool mom vibe had transformed into something deeper, something more profound. She seemed lonely, carrying a weight she couldn't share. There was a hidden part of her, a secret she kept locked away from the world, yet somehow, I found myself catching a fleeting glimpse of it. Uncertainty gripped me, yet an inexplicable urge compelled me to speak. The words tumbled forth, unbidden and raw. You're not alone in this. You realize that, right? She hesitated, the silence stretching between us like a taut wire, thickening the air with unspoken tension. Her gaze remained fixed on the road ahead, a subtle frown playing at the corners of her lips. Sometimes, it's just easier that way, she murmured, her voice barely rising above a whisper, as if sharing a secret with the shadows around her. Words escaped me, leaving a heavy silence in their wake. Moin doubt gnawed at me, leaving me uncertain whether to speak again. The ride stretched on in a heavy silence, an unspoken tension hanging in the air. I felt an undeniable weight, a sense that something significant had just transpired between us, something profound that I wasn't yet prepared to grasp. As we arrived at my place, she switched off the engine, plunging us into an electric silence. Here you are, she said, her voice returning to its familiar calm, friendly cadence, as if the weight of the world had lifted in that moment. Thanks again, I murmured, my fingers clutching my belongings as I rose from the seat. She nodded, her smile flickering back to life, yet it held a new depth, a shadow of something unspoken. It seemed somewhat contrived. Watch yourself, Ethan. I shut the door with a soft click, lingering for a moment as I watched her car fade into the distance, the taillights disappearing like a fleeting memory. The night wrapped around me like a thick fog, an unsettling stillness hanging in the air, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for something to unfold. It wasn't a matter of her and me, precisely, but rather an unnameable force that lingered in the air, heavy and electric. With each step toward my front door, a singular truth gripped my mind. Everything had shifted irreparably between us. The following evening, my mind was consumed by thoughts of the drive with Lena. It was a surprising twist, far removed from the familiar awkwardness I had braced myself for. No strange looks. Silence hung in the air, but it was anything but uncomfortable. Yet, an elusive feeling lingered, as if I had overlooked a crucial detail that haunted my thought. A nagging sensation tugged at the edges of my mind, elusive and frustratingly out of reach. Perhaps it was the intensity of her gaze when I declared Jake was a good guy. Or perhaps it was the heavy silence that enveloped us after I whispered that she didn't have to bear the weight of the world on her own. A lingering presence clung to me, refusing to be dismissed. As I sat in my room, lost in the glow of my phone screen, a sudden ping shattered the silence. A text had arrived. A message from Lena appeared on the screen. Hey, I'm en route to gather you. I suggested we venture down the winding path this time. The screen flickered before my eyes, leaving me in a haze of confusion. Is it a long journey ahead? It was an offer unlike any I had ever encountered. Doubt gnawed at me as I pondered the situation, but surely it was merely a ride home, wasn't it? I replied with a simple, okay, sure. In less than 15 minutes, she arrived at my place, and I sensed something was off right away. The car sat empty, a haunting reminder that Jake was nowhere to be found. I had anticipated his familiar presence in the backseat, ready to unleash one of his trademark jokes, but instead, I found only Lena waiting there. As I stepped inside, her smile greeted me, though it carried an undercurrent of tension. "Hey, Ethan, are you prepared to take a new path today?" "Absolutely, without a doubt," I urged. "Keep your curiosity in check." As she turned the key in the ignition, a heavy silence enveloped us, and I found myself lost in thought. At first, the drive felt familiar, a routine journey through the city. But then, without warning, she veered onto a street that was completely foreign to me. "Where are we headed?" I inquired, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor. Lena hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. Her gaze remained fixed on the winding road ahead, fingers drumming a steady beat against the steering wheel. Her demeanor held an unsettling quality, a subtle dissonance that tugged at the edges of perception. It was a stark contrast to the easygoing Lena I once knew. This was a different soul, adrift in uncertainty, perhaps. "It's just a place I like to escape to sometimes," she finally whispered, her voice soft and almost ethereal, as if it belonged to another world. Her gaze was elsewhere as she spoke, distant and unfocused. The street lights grew sparse as we left the downtown area, while the trees grew thicker, their shadows stretching across the road. As we drove away from the bustling city, it was as if we were slipping into a realm untouched by time, a quiet, almost forgotten corner of town waiting to reveal its secrets. A wave of unease washed over me as I shifted in my seat, the air thick with tension. The silence in the car enveloped them, a weighty shroud that pressed down on their shoulders. A chilling realization began to dawn on me. This was no mere deterrent. There was a deliberate purpose lurking beneath the surface. Curiosity gnawed at me, urging me to question her about our destination. Yet I held my tongue, the words trapped in my throat. A nagging sensation crept over me, whispering that I was an unwelcome presence in this moment. The other part of me, driven by an insatiable curiosity, refused to retreat. We drove through quieter streets as she shared her thoughts, until she slowed her pace, steering us toward a weathered lookout that loomed over a tranquil yet hauntingly beautiful lake. The view was peaceful, untouched by the city's noise, as if the very essence of the place whispered tales of neglect, suggesting it was never meant to linger in this world. "Is this place familiar to you?" I finally broke the silence with a question, my voice slicing through the tension that hung in the air. Lena hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut string waiting to snap. She brought the car to a halt, the engine's hum fading into silence. She lingered for a moment, her gaze fixed on the shimmering surface of the lake. Her expression was a mask of mystery, concealing the tempest of thoughts swirling beneath the surface. "I used to," she said quietly, her voice nearly swallowed by the whispering wind that danced through the trees. "Before everything shifted, before Jake matured into someone unrecognizable, before my existence spiraled into this chaos." She left the thought unfinished, allowing it to linger in the air like a haunting whisper. A strange pressure gripped my chest, tightening with an unsettling intensity. Her silence spoke volumes, a weighty presence that hinted at unspoken truths, shadows lurking just beneath the surface, begging to be revealed yet held back by an invisible barrier. Words eluded me, and in the silence, I surrendered to the symphony of the water's gentle flow and the whispering leaves, allowing them to weave an unspoken connection between us. It was a moment thick with tension, yet I couldn't bring myself to abandon her, stranded in the depths of her troubled thoughts. "I never imagined I'd be revealing all of this to you, Ethan," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper as she stole a glance in my direction after a heavy silence. Her gaze had softened, yet a lingering guardedness remained, hinting at untold stories beneath the surface. Yet, I find myself utterly alone, with no one else to confide in. Jake's just Jake, lost in his own world, oblivious to everything around him. It's frustrating, really. He just doesn't get it, you know? I nodded, a swirl of uncertainty gripping me as I searched for the right words. I wasn't Jake. I felt the weight of my inadequacy pressing down on me. I didn't possess the strength or the wisdom to be the person she needed right now, but I could offer her my ears, my presence, and the promise of understanding. "You don't have to say anything," she added swiftly, a flicker of panic crossing her face as if the weight of her words had just dawned on her. I felt an urgent pull to escape the confines of my home, a desperate need to break free. Silence hung heavy in the air after her words, a palpable tension that felt utterly wrong to ignore. A sense of urgency gripped me. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever she needed was crucial, and ignoring it was not an option. Understanding washed over me, and I finally found my voice. At times, a pause is all you crave, isn't it? Yeah, she murmured, her voice a fragile thread barely breaking the silence. Perhaps that's one way to put it. We lingered in the car, the silence stretching between us like a taut wire, each moment heavy with unspoken words. Uncertainty hung in the air, thick and palpable. I couldn't tell if she was expecting me to break the silence with another word, or if she had drifted away, ensnared in the labyrinth of her own thoughts. All I felt was the weight of change pressing down on me, knowing that the ride home would never feel the same again. Not after this moment. At last, she turned the key in the ignition once more, and we began our journey back, the atmosphere heavy with the unspoken words that lingered between us. As we veered back onto the main road, her eyes flickered toward me for a fleeting moment. "Thanks for listening, Ethan," she said, her tone lifting, as if the burden she had been shouldering had lightened just a fraction. I nodded, a storm of uncertainty swirling within me, as if I had just stepped over an invisible boundary. It wasn't necessarily a bad one, but it would change everything between us from this moment forward. As we arrived at my house, she didn't linger for a farewell. With a simple nod, she drove away, leaving me rooted to the spot, my mind racing with confusion over the whirlwind of events that had just unfolded. The days that followed that drive were steeped in an unsettling atmosphere. My mind was consumed by thoughts of her, by Lena. She revealed herself to me in a manner that was both unexpected and profound. The journey had transformed into something far more profound. The intensity in her gaze, as she spoke of her desperate need to escape, the heavy silence that hung around her words, lingered in my mind like a haunting melody. I convinced myself it was merely a fleeting moment, a chance for her to release the weight she carried, yet an unsettling feeling gnawed at me, whispering that this time was unlike any other. The next Saturday, the moment finally arrived. I saw her again. Jake had extended an invitation to spend some time at his place, and I thought, why not take the plunge? The familiar faces surrounded me, laughter mingling with the pulsating beats of the music, and the clinking of beer bottles filled the air. Yet, an unsettling distraction gnawed at my mind, pulling me away from the revelry more than ever before. Lena was absent, a fact that stirred no surprise within me. Her presence was a rare occurrence in moments like these. But then, as the clock struck 9 p.m., she appeared at the door. Her appearance took me completely by surprise. It struck me unexpectedly, leaving me bewildered and questioning the very reasons behind my surprise. Yet, there she stood, framed in the doorway, exuding an air of effortless elegance that captivated the moment. She had vanished just before the party began. From the very first moment, I sensed it. She arrived, anticipation coursing through her veins, ready to pick up Jake. "Hey, Ethan," she said, her smile a fleeting spark in the dim light. Her smile was unchanged, a familiar blend of warmth and ease, a mask of tranquility that whispered there was nothing to fear. Yet, I caught the fleeting moment of hesitation in her eyes when she laid them upon me. Perhaps it was just my imagination, but there was an unsettling quality about her, a sense of distance that lingered in the air, even as she stood just inches away from me. "Hey, Lena," I said, my voice steady, though my heart raced beneath the surface, fighting to keep the moment light. Jake burst from the kitchen, laughter spilling from his lips, a spark of joy ignited by one of the guy's words echoing in his mind. His eyes locked onto his mother the moment he entered the room. "Mom, you actually made it." He enveloped her in a warm embrace, and I caught a glimpse of her eyes rolling, a clear sign that she was all too familiar with his playful antics. "Are you prepared to embark on this journey?" "Yeah, just needed to check on you," she said, her eyes darting back to me, igniting that familiar tension that crackled in the air between us. A whisper in the shadows, a fleeting presence that lingered just beyond the edge of perception. Jake remained oblivious. "I'm fine, Mom. Tomorrow, when the sun begins to rise, I'll reach out to you for a ride." Understood. Lena nodded, wrapping her arms around him for a fleeting yet heartfelt embrace. All right, but make sure you come back before the night deepens. With a dismissive wave, he melted away into the throng, leaving her alone amidst the swirling mass of faces. She turned back to me, and in that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us, thick and charged with unspoken words. The air hung heavy between us, charged with an unspoken truth that lingered, a secret we both felt but dared not confront. At last, she summoned the courage to clear her throat. "I hear you're excelling in school," she remarked, her tone strained, as if she were struggling to keep the conversation light and breezy. "That's fantastic." "Yeah, I said, my gaze darting around the room, deliberately avoiding the weight of prolonged eye contact. "It's nothing out of the ordinary, just the relentless cycle of daily life." She nodded, and the air thickened with an electrifying silence that seemed to stretch on forever. A nagging sensation clawed at me, whispering that she was concealing a secret just beneath the surface. There was an unsettling shift in her demeanor, a change that sent ripples of curiosity through the air. "I'll see you later, Ethan," she whispered, her voice slicing through the heavy silence that enveloped them. That smile reappeared, yet this time, it felt strained, as if she were struggling to hold it in place. "Look after yourself." "Yeah, you too," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. She turned to leave, but just as her foot hovered above the threshold, she hesitated, casting one last lingering glance back at me. Her eyes locked onto mine, and in that moment, I glimpsed the truth. It was the very same gaze I had encountered on that fateful night when she took me home. I could tell she was holding back emotions, and then in an instant, the fleeting moment slipped away. She had vanished into thin air. Uncertainty gripped me as I lingered in that moment, lost in thoughts of her. Questions swirled in my mind, each one more pressing than the last, as I pondered the events that had unfolded since our last conversation. What emotions lay hidden beneath the surface of her heart? Why did it seem as though I was glimpsing a part of her that remained hidden from everyone else? Why did it feel as though she was putting on a facade, desperately trying to convince the world that everything was perfectly fine? A deep, unsettling feeling gnawed at me, whispering that this was far from finished. A storm was brewing, an impending force that caught me off guard. I fought to banish the thought from my mind, determined to immerse myself once more in the vibrant chaos of the party. Yet, the night unfolded with an unmistakable sense of change. The familiar jokes and melodies fell flat, lacking the spark they once held. Each time my eyes fell on Jake, a question gnawed at me. What was his mother truly like when the world faded away? As I made my way home under the cloak of night, a single question haunted my thoughts, looping endlessly in my mind. What was happening with Lena? The undeniable tension crackled in the air. A magniable tension crackled in the air. A magnetic force pulling us closer together. A tension lingered in the air, unvoiced yet intensifying with each passing moment. Yet, uncertainty clung to me like a shadow, whispering doubts about whether I was truly prepared to unravel the mysteries ahead. Time seemed to stretch endlessly over the next few days, each moment heavy with anticipation. Despite my best efforts to concentrate on my studies, the relentless burden of thoughts about Lena loomed over me, making it nearly impossible to escape her presence. What transpired under the cloak of darkness that fateful night? Was I merely lost in my thoughts? Or was there a genuine connection sparking between us? Each encounter with her crackled with an unvoiced tension, a magnetic pull that lingered in the air, yet she expertly danced around it, maintaining an effortless lightness in our exchanges. It was on Tuesday night that the tension reached its breaking point. As I wrapped up the last of my homework in the solitude of my room, a sudden buzz from my phone shattered the silence. I glanced at my phone, anticipation bubbling within me as I hoped for a message from a friend, or perhaps a familiar ping from my mom inquiring about dinner. But what I found was something entirely unexpected. A message from Lena appeared, pulling at the edges of curiosity and anticipation. "Hey Ethan, I realize this might come off as strange, but I really need to talk to you." My gaze locked onto the screen, a whirlwind of uncertainty swirling within me as I tried to decipher its meaning. My heart raced, a sudden jolt of adrenaline coursing through me. What could possibly be driving her to send me messages like this? Days had slipped by since that tense moment at Jake's party, and silence hung heavy in the air. I hadn't heard a word from her since. A sense of urgency tugged at me, compelling a response, yet I fought against the instinct to leap at the opportunity to engage with her. Of course, what's on your mind? I pressed send, my heart racing as I fought to maintain a facade of nonchalance. Moments later, my phone vibrated with an urgent buzz. Tomorrow, perhaps we could share a moment over coffee, just the two of us. I find myself in desperate need of a confidant, and I believe you are the one I must turn to. A heavy weight pressed against my chest, constricting my breath. Engage in conversation with another soul? It was baffling that she had chosen me, of all people, to confide in. The very notion sent a shiver down my spine. I was eager to listen, but something held me back. A peculiar sensation washed over me, an unsettling strangeness that lingered in the air. Was she seeking my counsel, or was there a deeper motive at play? I longed to be by her side, yet a shadow of fear loomed within me, whispering doubts about the words she might unleash. All right, tomorrow it is. Where could it possibly be? With a surge of adrenaline, I hit send, the decision made before doubt could creep in. I wondered if I'd said the right thing. Was this truly a wise decision? Was I plunging into the abyss? Yet, the point of no return had long since passed. Moments later, her response came through, revealing a location that pulsed with intrigue. A quaint little coffee shop nestled just a stone's throw from my home. I was intimately familiar with it. The air was thick with silence, enveloping the space in a shroud of secrecy, a sanctuary where whispered words could dance freely, shielded from prying ears. It was an ideal location for an event of this magnitude. The following afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop, my heart racing as I stepped through the door a bit ahead of schedule. Uncertainty loomed over me, yet a deep sense of significance pulsed in the air. Lena had changed in ways I couldn't quite grasp, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty about what lay ahead. I promised myself I would simply listen, maintain the facade of normalcy, and perhaps, in the process, uncover some elusive clarity. As she stepped through the door, an undeniable shift in her presence caught my eye. Something about her seemed subtly transformed. Her hair cascaded around her shoulders, tousled and wild, a stark contrast to the casual denim jacket draped over her simple shirt. She looked tired, but smiled warmly when she saw me, exposed perhaps. As her gaze met mine, a warmth flickered in her eyes, yet beneath that warmth lay a shadow of sorrow, a secret lurking just out of sight. Hey, she whispered, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Of course, I replied, my voice trembling as I fought to maintain my composure. What is happening? She settled into her seat opposite me, her fingers nervously toying with the fabric of her jacket sleeve. She was visibly gathering her strength, the words teetering on the edge of her lips, yet they remained stubbornly elusive. I don't really know where to start, she said, her voice trembling with uncertainty. A sense of unease has been creeping into my days, leaving me feeling adrift and unsettled. Concerning all that exists, I leaned forward, uncertainty swirling within me. Yet I fought to maintain my composure. What are you trying to say? You can confide in me, Lena. She inhaled sharply, her eyes fixed on the swirling depths of her coffee cup, deliberately steering clear of my gaze. Thoughts swirl in my mind like a tempest, all centered around Jake and the chaos that unfolded. It's as if the weight of everything presses down, demanding to be unraveled. It feels as though I'm ensnared, unable to break free. Everything feels askew, as if the world has turned on its head. For what feels like an eternity, I've worn a mask, feigning that everything is perfectly fine when, in truth, it's anything but. Yet the most haunting realization is that I may have been cloaking myself in those excuses to evade the stark truth lurking just beneath the surface, the revelation of my true self. My heart began to race, pounding fiercely against my chest. This was far from what I had envisioned. Her words danced around the subject, never quite touching on anything that involved me directly. Yet, there was an intensity in her words, a rawness that wrapped around me like a shroud, making me acutely aware of my presence as if I were trespassing on a sacred moment. Confusion swirled within me, leaving me grasping for clarity. I spoke softly, What hidden truth lies beneath the surface? At last, she locked her gaze with mine, and in that moment, I glimpsed the profound burden she had been shouldering all along. Loneliness has wrapped around me like a heavy shroud, Ethan. Utterly isolated. I've been wearing a mask, hiding the turmoil beneath, but the truth is far from okay. In the depths of my soul, I realize I've been searching for something, someone to fill that aching void within me. Desperation clawed at my insides as I scanned the faces around me, each one a stranger. I felt utterly alone, lost in a sea of uncertainty, with nowhere else to go. And then the thoughts of you began to swirl in my mind. My heart raced. Her words caught me off guard, a jolt of surprise coursing through me. The atmosphere felt as if it had been drained, leaving only a heavy silence in its wake. Lena, I understand. She cut in, her voice quaking with emotion. A sense of unease gnawed at me, a whisper in the back of my mind that this path was wrong. You stand beside Jake, a loyal friend, while I, a figure of warmth and guidance, watch over him as his mother. Yet, there's an undeniable pull to you, Ethan. You haunt my thoughts, an unshakable presence that lingers in every moment. I've been struggling with thoughts I can't shake. The weight of its existence presses down, demanding acknowledgement, and I find myself at a crossroads, unable to continue the charade of indifference. Thoughts surged through my mind like a wild storm, each one vying for attention, each more urgent than the last. Uncertainty gripped me, leaving me speechless. All I could do was sit there, my mind racing as I struggled to grasp the weight of her words. The air crackled with unspoken tension. This had transformed into something far deeper than a mere discussion of loneliness. It was about something far deeper, a moment that caught us both off guard, leaving us unprepared for what lay ahead. I parted my lips, ready to speak, yet silence enveloped me, leaving no words to escape. A wave of emotions crashed over me, leaving me breathless and disoriented. As I gazed into her eyes, I was met with a reflection of the turmoil and dread swirling within me. In an instant, the very fabric of our connection transformed. The days that followed Lena's confession unfolded in a haze, each moment slipping through her fingers like sand. The words she had spoken to me that afternoon clung to my mind like a haunting melody, refusing to fade away. I fought to keep my mind occupied, immersing myself in school and the familiar rhythm of my everyday existence. Yet, with each blink, her words echoed relentlessly in the depths of my mind. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. It really stuck with me. It reverberated in my mind, drowning out all other sounds. A sense of urgency gripped me. This was far from a mere casual encounter. It was more than mere loneliness she was describing. Lena had revealed her soul to me in a way that no one ever had before. She had entrusted me with a piece of her soul, something so raw and deeply personal. The burden of that trust pressed down on me, a heavy responsibility that left me questioning my readiness to bear it. Jake remained silent about his mother and me, a fact for which I felt a deep sense of relief. I repeatedly whispered to myself that normalcy must prevail. I knew I had to maintain my distance, resisting the pull of whatever was brewing between Lena and me. Yet, the confusion continued to swell within me, an unrelenting tide that threatened to engulf my thoughts. The next weekend, Lena reached out to me once more. Once again, her message arrived like a bolt from the blue, catching me off guard. Ethan, we need to talk. I must unravel this mystery. Will you come to see me? My eyes lingered on the message, the weight of its words pulling me into a moment of hesitation before I finally mustered the courage to reply. The weight of the moment pressed down on me, and I found myself standing at a crossroads, faced with a decision that would alter the course of my life forever. I found myself at a crossroads, compelled to unravel the mystery of what lay before me and determine the path I would take next. I was at a crossroads, caught in a tempest of emotions. On one side, the weight of betrayal loomed over me, tethering me to my friend. On the other, an undeniable pull towards someone who desperately needed my help beckoned me forward. Where could it possibly be? I responded with a flurry of keystrokes. Her response echoed the familiar name of the coffee shop. As I stepped inside, My gaze was immediately drawn to Lena, who sat alone at a table in the shadowy corner, her presence both inviting and enigmatic. Her eyes darted upward, locking onto mine with a spark of recognition. In that fleeting instant, a familiar tension hung in the air, wrapping around them like a shroud. Yet this time the weight felt different, lighter somehow, as if the burden had shifted in the shadows. The silence enveloped the space, inviting deeper contemplation. She appeared more composed, as if the weight of the past few days had led her to a profound realization. "Hey," I said, settling into the chair opposite her, the tension palpable in the air between us. I struggled to maintain a calm facade, yet deep within, I sensed the threads of my composure fraying, threatening to pull apart at any moment. "Hey," she whispered, her lips curling into a delicate smile that seemed to hold a world of secrets. "Thank you for being here." I nodded, uncertainty swirling within me as I grappled with how to begin. Our last conversation lingered in the air, a tapestry woven from threads of everything and nothing, all at once. At that moment, the thirst for answers consumed me. "Lena," words escaped me. I embarked on a quest to uncover the perfect words. Your words the other day lingered heavily in the air, a weight that pressed down on my thoughts. Uncertainty lingers in the air, a fog of confusion that wraps around my thoughts, leaving me grappling with the pieces of a puzzle that refused to fit together. Her head dipped in a slow, deliberate nod. "I understand." It has been weighing on my mind as well. In that moment, a profound realization washed over me. I don't want to complicate things for you, Ethan. I never want to place you in a situation where you feel trapped between me and Jake. That's an injustice to you. A suffocating pressure gripped my chest. There it stood, a haunting presence in the shadows. At last, the moment of revelation had arrived. She was retreating, her steps hesitant and filled with uncertainty. She was determined to set things straight. "I care about you, Ethan," she continued, her voice a whisper yet resolute, as if the weight of her words could shift the very air between them. Yet, deep down, I know I must confront the reality that awaits me. I need to prioritize my family right now. I've been navigating a storm of emotions, and for a time I found myself lost in the chaos. Yet, this is not the path that leads to salvation. It simply can't be. A heavy weight settled in my chest. In certain moments, a part of me understood that this was the choice I had to make. It was the only choice that made sense, the one destined to hold the fragile threads of existence together. Yet, that did nothing to ease the burden. I longed to assure her that everything would be all right. I grasped that completely. I couldn't bear the thought of losing her as a friend. Yet, the words eluded her grasp. Uncertainty gnawed at me, leaving me adrift in a sea of confusion. I clear my throat, the sound echoing in the tense silence, as I struggle to maintain an air of composure. "Lena, your honesty about this brings a sense of relief. I can't bear the thought of being the one who complicates everything between you and Jake. Indeed, you are correct. This moment, this very place, is not meant for such things." Her expression softened, shoulders drooping slightly, as if the burden she had unknowingly borne was finally lifted from her weary frame. "I regret what has happened, Ethan. It was never my intention to cast a shadow of discomfort upon you. All I craved was a pair of ears to hear my silent screams, and I found myself adrift in the chaos of it all. As I leaned forward, my fingers brushed against hers, a fleeting connection that sent a shiver through the air between us. "It's all right, Lena. You're not alone in your bewilderment. Yet, this surpasses all expectations. We can leave this behind, unscathed and unbroken." Her smile was gentle, yet a profound sorrow lingered in her eyes, an undeniable truth that pulled at my heartstrings. "My presence will forever linger by your side, Ethan. Only as a friend, understood?" I nodded, a heavy lump forming in my throat, the weight of unspoken words pressing down on me. Indeed, only as friends. We lingered in the moment, our words weaving through the stillness, each trivial exchange a thread binding us together in the quiet of the evening. Uncertainty gripped me as I stood at the crossroads, torn between the weight of my past and the allure of an unknown future. Could I truly turn my back on everything that had unfolded? Yet, deep down, I understood that this was the only way forward. As I stepped out of the coffee shop that day, a profound change stirred within me. I had come to terms with the shadows of the past. Lena and I were destined to remain nothing more than friends, and that was perfectly fine. Each of us was destined to carve out our own journey, navigating the twists and turns that lay ahead. In a world shrouded in uncertainty, where easy answers elude grasp and perfect outcomes remain a distant dream, one undeniable truth emerged from the shadows. And at times, that's all you truly need to grasp. 2 years had passed. 2 years have passed since that fateful day in the coffee shop, but the memories linger as vividly as if they had just unfolded yesterday. The memory of Lena's gaze lingers in my mind, the moment she confessed she couldn't go through with it. The weight of her words lingered in the air, thick and heavy, as if they were a noose tightening around my throat, threatening to suffocate me. I need to prioritize my family right now. In that moment, I convinced myself that I was making the right choice. I told myself that turning my back was the honorable decision. I convinced myself it was all for the greater good, for Jake, for her, for my own sake. Yet, beneath the surface, a truth lingered. This was never about righteousness. It was a tale woven with the threads of fear. A chilling dread gripped him at the thought of what crossing that line would truly entail. A chilling dread settled in my chest, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. What would become of our friendship? What fate awaited my bond with Jake? And above all, a paralyzing dread of confronting the truth of my feelings for her. I should have visited her that day. I should have revealed to her that my heart echoed her own. In that moment, I should have cast aside my pride and my fear, and simply reached out to her. Yet, I chose not to. I retreated. And now, here I stand, 2 years later, haunted by the echoes of every moment I let slip away, every chance I failed to seize. It was just a few months back when I caught a glimpse of her, amidst the bustling aisles of the grocery store. A chance meeting unfolded, unexpected and electric. The fluorescent lights flickered above as I stood in the cereal aisle, my fingers hovering over a box that promised health but delivered deception. Suddenly, a voice sliced through the mundane hum of the grocery store, pulling me from my thoughts. "Greetings, Ethan." I stood motionless. I pivoted with deliberate slowness, and there she stood, a vision that stole my breath away. Lena. She appeared unchanged, yet there was an undeniable shift in her essence. A serene stillness enveloped her, a quiet strength radiating from within. There was a tranquility in her that I had never witnessed before. Her smile was bright, yet a shadow flickered behind her eyes, hinting at untold stories waiting to unfold. A surge of boldness ignited within. Additional content awaits. It struck me with the force of a gut-wrenching blow. "Lena," I uttered, struggling to maintain a facade of cheerfulness. "Wow, it feels like ages since we last connected." "Yeah, it has," she murmured, her gaze drifting to the cart she was pushing. A weight of unspoken thoughts lingering in the air. "How have you been faring in this ever-changing world?" My curiosity burned within me as I longed to know how she had been faring. I was consumed by a burning desire to uncover every detail of her life, to trace the path she had walked since that fateful day we last spoke. Yet, a deep-seated fear gripped me at the thought of the answer. The question loomed heavy in the air, poised on the edge of my tongue, yet I found myself unable to voice it, for I had already uncovered the truth. "I've been well," I spoke, shrouding my words in mystery. Her smile pierced through the air, a fleeting moment that held a world of unspoken secrets. In that fleeting instant, the world around her seemed to settle into a comforting rhythm, as if time itself had paused to embrace the calm, as if time had stood still. But then she unleashed the shocking revelation. "I'm with someone now, Ethan," she said, her voice steady, yet infused with a warmth that felt foreign to me. A wave of joy washes over me. My heart plummeted, the words crashing over me like a relentless tide. "She's not alone anymore." A sudden jolt surged through me, as if the very ground beneath my feet had vanished into thin air. I forced to smile, battling the storm within, striving to share in her joy. Yet all that echoed in my mind was the haunting realization that I had let my opportunity slip away. "That's great," I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. "My heart swells with joy for you." She appeared to pick up on an undercurrent in my voice, an unsettling shift that lingered in the air. Her gaze locked onto mine, a moment stretched into eternity as her eyes delved deep, searching for something hidden within. And I sensed her searching for a spark, a glimmer of something she had never discovered within me before. Yet, her silence spoke volumes. Her head dipped in silent agreement. "I should go," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. As I approach my doorstep, a rush of anticipation courses through me. "But I'm truly grateful our paths crossed, Ethan. It's a relief to finally lay eyes on you again." "Yeah," I said, my smile strained but determined. "You as well." She turned and walked away, leaving me frozen in place. My eyes locked onto her retreating figure. A knot twisted in my stomach, a hollow emptiness that clung to me like a shadow I couldn't escape. My heart raced as I felt the urge to chase after her, to halt her steps, to finally unleash the torrent of emotions I had bottled up for 2 long years. My heart raced as I stood there, desperate to find the words. I longed to tell her how deeply sorry I was, how I had stumbled into the greatest mistake of my life, paralyzed by fear, unable to reveal the truth of my feelings. Yet, I chose not to. I stood there, paralyzed as she turned away, leaving my world behind forever. I convinced myself that I had made the right choice when I turned my back on her all those years ago. But now, as I gazed at her, witnessing the joy radiating from her as she shared laughter with another, the weight of my past mistakes crashed down on me, revealing the depth of my misjudgment. The paralyzing fear that had shackled my honesty, that had silenced my daring spirit, had exacted a heavy toll, leaving me with nothing but the echoes of what could have been. The moment had slipped away, and there was no turning back. She had moved on, leaving me in the shadows of my own regrets, with no one to blame but the reflection staring back at me. It wasn't merely that she had discovered another. I realized, in that moment, that I had lost my chance. The weight of time pressed heavily upon me, a relentless reminder that I had lingered far beyond the point of no return. Fear had wrapped its tendrils around me, holding me back, making me overly cautious. And now she found joy in the arms of another, crafting a life that no longer held space for me. There was no turning back. The past was etched in stone, and I was left to grapple with the weight of my choices. There was no turning back. The chance to mend it had slipped through my fingers. Fear had woven its grip around my choices, and now, as I stood on the precipice of consequence, I realized it was far too late to turn back. She had discovered her happiness, and I realized I could have handled things differently from me. Stepping out of the grocery store that day, an overwhelming sense of loss washed over me, as if I had just relinquished the most precious thing I ever possessed, and I felt it in the depths of my soul. A haunting certainty that it was lost to me forever.